Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good. Good evening. Yes. Okay. Before we go into the meditation on sympathetic joy, mudita, I would like to just review the previous meditations. It is said in the Visuddhimagga that the highest attainment of the meditation on loving kindness is beauty. The highest absorption on compassion is infinite space. The highest absorption on mudita, or sympathetic joy, is infinite consciousness. So you can see the progression there. And it's really important to kind of understand how it progresses. The development of loving kindness has to do with the physical realm. The closest thing you can come to it is the care of the mother, the mother has for the child, and that she's totally devoted to that child's well-being on the physical level first. That's the most important thing, and this is critical, right? And so, when practicing loving kindness, focus on that realm, right? May all beings be well and happy. In other words, may all beings have enough food. May all beings have good care, good, water to drink. The ability to bathe. May they have a reasonable bed to sleep in. All these different things, you see. It's a physical thing, and focus on it on a physical level. Love. And then, of course, it has many other ramifications. Right? It can go into many realms. It isn't just physical, but it begins with the physical, and it's an integral part of it, right? So, and you shouldn't avoid that, right? We're going to be studying the Diamond Sutta, and it's really interesting to note that the sutta begins by the Buddha going on alms round, right, and washing his feet, sitting on a mat. Physical things, reality, physical. Take care of yourself physically. Be kind to yourself physically. Stop punishing yourself. Right? This is kindness. This is loving kindness. And your kindness to others, can manifest that way too. Do you feel good? Feeding people, giving them food. Does it make you feel good? When you give a meal to someone, how does that make you feel? What is the response that you get from that activity? And look at loving kindness as this, simple, interactive reality between you and all beings. That this is very important. But then there comes this time when we have this physical reality, and it has to be kind of interrupted. The story that they use to describe compassion is the burning house. That's where, they have the wonderful family in this beautiful house, and the mother cooks all these wonderful cookies, and the children are happy, and the father goes out to mow the lawn, and he looks back, and the house is burning, right? And he runs to try and get the children out of the house, and get them out of the house, and he can't get them, and they're playing, and he's saying, come out of the house, and they're saying, they think it's a game, and he's, waving, and so then he has to think of some tricks to get him out of the house, right? It's called skill and means, right? Dharma. The guru has to trick you out of your house because it's burning, right? And what is your house? It's your body, right? If you cling to your body as a self, as an I, right, you will experience great suffering, dukkha, suffering, pain, grief, and despair at the moment of death. Why? This is going. It's going. It's burning. So you have to learn to become free of this house before death. Before you die, you have to learn to get free of this body and to explore other dimensions, other realms. If you don't do that, then at the time of death, you don't have anything else. However, if if you can embody compassion for yourself first, you learn to become free of the body, not cling to it. It's a vehicle. It will go. It will disappear. But then what? Well, by that time, and hopefully long before then, you will cultivate many other realms of experience that are beyond the body. Essence of mind, right? The ability to travel in space, the ability to meet other beings of space beings, the ability to experience other realms, other planets, other dimensions of consciousness. Many years ago, Rinpoche came to a class and he said, I was just traveling in space, and he said, I experienced a diamond planet. A whole planet that was composed of diamond. It was diamond. And it was like, wow, And he just mentioned that and, continued with the class. And I thought that was interesting, right? About 15 or 20 years later, I read in a astronomy magazine that they discovered a diamond planet. So, folks, this is a reality. This is something that is real. This is not a fantasy. It's not you exploring other dimensions besides this physical realm. Is a reality. You don't disrespect this. Right? The Buddha said, impermanent though it is, still within this fathom-long body I show you the arising and passing away of the universe. You've got a lot of exploration to do here. Right? It's not in any way a disrespect for this. We just get away from the body. Gross things. No. The Buddha doesn't do that. He walks barefoot on the earth. Right? And when you study the last sutta, where he, just before he attains parinibbana, it talks about him, walking, and he's ill. He's 80 years old, and he's walking, and he's ill, and he's going into the bushes. That's the way they describe it. Well, he's got some kind of diarrhea, and so he's going into the bushes every so often. This is a physical being. He wasn't right? He was a physical being. There was the physical reality. So your body is something to explore as a dharma, a profound dharma, and it's also something to leave and explore other realms. That's okay. You don't have to be trapped within it. You don't have to be, right, imprisoned in it. And compassion has a lot to do with letting go from the clinging to this form. Clinging to this form. Do you see what I mean by that? Right? People who cling to the body as the self and try to make it eternal or lasting are doomed for incredible suffering. That's just the way it is. Why? Because it's against the nature of what is. It's against the reality. You know the three, truths, anicca, dukkha, anatta. Well, two of them are ultimate. And one of them is relative. Dukkha is relative. It's not an ultimate truth. The more you're trying to stop change and be permanent, the more suffering you have. The more you try to cling to a self, a me, an identity, the more suffering you have. The more you realize that you are moving, you are going, and that you are one with the going, the less suffering. The more you are able to experience the new being arising moment to moment to moment. No suffering. Gone. Okay? You see. So, it's good to forget who you were. It's good to forget. And it's good to be open to what you will become, or what you are. There's a bit of a twist in there. Because, you can't find a being in the past. You certainly can't find one in the future. And you'll be hard-pressed to find one in the present. But besides that, there's no permanent being in the present, that's for sure. It's an ongoing process. And it's, the enlightened take refuge in change. Right? The unenlightened have fear of change. Because they're going to lose something. They're going to lose themselves. So they have fear of change. They want to keep things the same. They don't want to let go of that formation. Even though it's suffering. So, you understand, I hope. So, this is the freedom from the suffering of the body. That's what compassion is. To help you to experience, freedom from this formation. That this formation is functioning according to the laws of physical reality, and that's quite fine. And it's a study. What's wrong with studying that process? Why do you have to be, desperately trying to hold it together? You know what I mean? Taking all these drugs and going to, No, I do that too, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But that's because I have someone who's a paramedic and they... So, you have to accommodate others. You have to be kind to others, So part of being kind is you got to be able to accept, others' help. Right? That's part of the game, eh? To accept the help of others. They want to help you. They want to give to you, and so you accept it. That's okay. But it's not something to cling to, that's for sure. And be ready to go when the time comes to go. Be ready. Embrace it with open arms. And go for it, because it's, you're going to have a ride. It's a ride. Okay? So have that sense of adventure. Have this sense of, as you approach death, that you are approaching the great adventure. And that this is a wonderful thing to embark on. So that's the compassion element. Now I'm going to talk about something that Buddhists don't talk about, because they're very much involved with suffering, these Buddhists. They're really dukkha orientated. You have to get free of suffering, you have to get free of suffering. And, having to get free of suffering makes suffering more and more dominant in consciousness. You're trying to get free of something, and you make it something. It's called suffering. Well, what happens if you forget it, right? And you just become involved in giving to others? You forget that you're there and you're suffering. You forget you're suffering. What happened to it? It just disappeared, by the way. There's no reality to it, so it's gone. There's no ultimate reality to the suffering. It's gone. When you forget, right, your formation, then you look back and you say, oh, it's a body, it's tingling, it's doing some strange things because it's getting old, right? The hip hurts a bit, But then if you go to look at the pain, it dissolves and it becomes something else, and it becomes something else, and it becomes, right? It's continually transforming if you allow it to happen. This is what they teach you. This is what you learn in meditation, right? You chase the pain around you, right? When you're sitting in meditation and there's pain in your leg, you say, feeling, and then you let it go. You do that 3 times, and if there's still pain there, you go and say, okay, let's explore that pain. Well, when I was doing this, early days, the pain I'd go to explore, and it would jump over here, and then it would jump over here, and then it would jump. And I would spend the whole meditation just chasing this pain around, doing that one simple little practice. That taught me a lot about the body and about pain. And that it was, this mind-created thing, and it was playing a game with me. So then it was like, okay, now just be in it. Don't chase it. And then, it dissolves, it goes. Something else comes. So learn these things about your own mind and your own body, and learn that, this is what's really going on, that this transformation is taking place. But then learn something else. This is where the Buddhists don't like this one. It's called, right, sympathetic joy. It's being in a state of joy continuously. And the thing that's really upsetting to them is that it's infinite. It has no boundaries. It has no beginning. It has no end. Right? Immeasurable. You can't find a boundary to it. See? Just like consciousness. Right? That's the highest attainment of sympathetic joy, is infinity of consciousness. Well, consciousness is all-pervading. It pervades everything. So there's no boundaries. Right? How do you get a boundary? There's no boundaries there. Right? When you explore consciousness and you expand it out, right, from the center of your being, and you expand it out, there's no place where it stops. There's no physical boundary there. It just permeates everything. And so this is a tremendously joyous experience, right? To experience a tree, to know a tree directly, right? Consciousness melding with the tree. Wow, it's really cool. That's a beautiful experience. Brings joy, brings happiness. Doesn't bring dukkha, brings joy. Well, it's infinite joy. Especially when you forget yourself, right? And you have sympathetic joy. What this means is that wherever you see the victory, you have joy. You have happiness. Wherever you see, right, the victory of life unfolding, that brings you joy. When you see it in a child, or you see it in your friend, or you see it in the trees, in the flowers, or in the, in the grass, right? You see it happening all around you. Well, where did the dukkha go? It's gone. You forgot that you had suffering, right? And because you forgot, it doesn't exist. Well, this is very important. But you can only experience this when you go out, not in. You've got to experience others, not self. The self produces the suffering. When you go out, the suffering disappears. So why are you carrying the burden, this terrible burden of a self? Because you got to resolve all these problems? They're really important, serious problems, right? Mommy did this to me once, and daddy did that, and and this person did this, and that you have to spend all this energy carrying this bundle on your back for the rest of your life to make sure you remember who you are. And you remember all the moments of suffering in your life. Right? I think, the Buddhists invented therapy. You know what I mean? Because that's what they do in therapy. They want you to remember all the things that formed you, right? And of course you have to talk about them and think how real they were and all this stuff. And then you have to resolve those problems. I really like R.D. Laing's approach to the whole thing. R.D. Laing was a psychiatrist, English. Rinpoche knew him, when he was teaching in England. Well, R.D. Laing, he's a psychiatrist, and this man came to him, and he said, asked him to sit down, and Laing was sitting at his, behind his desk, and he's talking to him, and he says, well, what seems to be the problem? And the man says, well, I'm depressed all the time. I just have this incredible depression. And Laing says, he says, okay. He says, well, tell me, have you had a moment or time when you weren't depressed, when you didn't have that depression? No, I can't remember a time when I did. And Laing says, well, think about it. Think about it. Was there ever a time when you didn't have depression? And the man says, well, I used to go fishing, and I really enjoyed it. I was kind of happy. And Laing says, what kind of fishing do you do? And he says, fly fishing, And he says, Laing talks about, he likes to do that kind of fishing, and then they talk about fishing, and then they talk about different kinds of tackle, and, and they get going on it, and the guy's in this, remembering all these things of, fishing, and, and then, Laing says, well, your hour is about up, And the guy gets up and he says, "Oh yeah, it was nice to meet you." And he's going for the door. And he said, "Whoa, wait a minute. We didn't talk about my depression." And Lang says, "Yeah, that's right, we didn't." And he says, "Well, you mean I paid $150 to come here and just talk about fly fishing?" He said, "Yeah, that's right." He says, "Yeah, that's right." Huh? And the guy was dumbfounded, And he says, "Look," Lang says, "why do you want to talk about the prison when you can just walk out the door?" And that's the truth. You can just walk out the door. So why do you want to make the prison so real? So, important? Well, all you have to do is let go and play with the kittens. Right? Let go, interact with the beings around you, and forget who you are permanently. You know what I mean? That would be the best. So you don't have to go dig it up again, right? That was one of my first experiences, going to give a meditation report to Rinpoche. And he gave me the sword meditation in which you cut off every thought that, as soon as it arises, right? And boom, boom, Well, it was tough, right? So I practiced this meditation for a whole week. I came back and I said, "Whoa," I said, "that's a difficult meditation." I said, "It seems to negate everything I know." And she said, "Well, you don't want to watch that thing called knowing, maybe you don't know, And so I'm talking about this, and I'm all into it, the difficulties I was having, right? And he had these Burmese cats, and the cat jumps on my shoulder. And I stopped. I looked at the cat, right? And the cat looked at me, And then I looked at Rinpoche, and he smiled.
He made the cat too.
No, he didn't. No, the cat was there, And then he smiled. Then I said, "Oh," and I went back. "I have this problem." Right? And then I looked up, and Rinpoche's looking at me like, "Boy, you're going to really need to get whacked." It was gone. I could have just accepted the goneness of it. Instead, I had to go back and dig up the corpses. Right? I had to go back and dig up all the old bones. If you could just let go of them, then it just unfolds. There's no necessity to carry the old bones around with you. You see? Yeah. But there's the fear of the unknown. So you prefer the pain of the known to the fear of the unknown. Well, maybe you should take up skiing or something. I don't know, Or, those scooters. They look pretty cool. I don't know, you got to find what it is that lets, that gives you the freedom or the license to let go and to just explore and to be in a happy state. Whatever it is, find it, and enter into the joy of others. That's a wonderful thing. When you can see, another being just flowering, and you just go, whoa, you can sense it, right? And then it just produces this wonderful happiness in you, right? And that's freedom from all the dead bones that you carry around. Right? Makes sense? It makes sense. It's simple. It's direct. It's not complicated. is sympathetic joy. Unfortunately, we live in a world where, the person who has sympathetic joy, or the person who has empathy and can experience both the suffering and joy of others, they're sort of thought to be a little mentally ill, right? And the psychopath does very well in business. He's brilliant in business. He's brutal. He's very successful, isn't he? Right? So this is the problem with society. That's why you have to step away from that. You have to step away from that view. Because it's sickness, it's illness. Just because everyone agrees about it doesn't mean that it is sane. And this is what you have to find, is your sanity. What is truly real, what is without remainder. It is truth. You can't take it any further. It goes all the way. And this is what sympathetic joy does. It causes you to forget about yourself. And if you can just keep forgetting, you got it. You got it. You have the path, and you have the result. And you're in the moment, right? And there's no more work to be done. So, this is why the Theravadins don't like it so much. But, I do admit they're like, I learned this from the Visuddhimagga, which is probably the most traditional Theravada text there is, But it's in there, It's the last 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs on the meditation on the Divine Abidings, or the immeasurables. And they say it very simply, plainly. And then most of the other, part of it, they try to ignore that. So tonight we'll explore this sympathetic joy. And the way to explore it is you're going to go into the jaw. So you see how you're going. You're going from here to here to here. You're going to go into the jaw. And you're going to experience a yellow light in the center of your jaw, right in the center, right? This yellow light. And it can be like a bindu, or it can be like a sphere. And it can be when it's small, it can be very powerful. But we're going to go into that, and then we're going to, spread it out into your body. And sympathetic joy is really important for you to have for yourself. Don't you ever get to the stage where it's just like, wow, you really like yourself, and you're dancing around the kitchen, right? And you're very happy, right? You really like yourself. You did good work today. It was okay. Right? It was a good day. Remember those days, remember those times, and cultivate it. Let it be something you do every day, or experience every day. So you start with a practice, but eventually it should pervade all areas of your life. You start by focusing on it, but eventually it just becomes a natural phenomenon. This is what you do all the time. And it's just, why? Well, it's more fun than suffering. You know what I mean? Why would you want to do that? So And this idea that, and it's contagious. Have you noticed that? Yeah. When you're in a good state and you're joyous, boy, everybody gets turned on by you. They go, wow, that was kind of fun to meet that person, They get kind of like, They get a little buzz off you. Right? It's a wonderful thing. And you see it happening. It's like, this is the thing of passing on the joy. So, you focus on this yellow light in the jaw. And you go through your whole body, permeating your whole body, radiating this through your whole body. And, when doing this meditation, sometimes you start to shake and do all kinds of funny things, You get that, That's the shaking and quaking of the saints, right? And but that's one of the things that might happen when you get the light in the whole body, and the yellow light. And
can you describe the yellow?
Well, it's a warm yellow. It's not an acidic yellow. It's not sharp. It's not, right? It's warm. See, she's an artist, and so she wants me to define the color. Gotta have the color defined, right?
Yeah, I was looking at the guy behind you too. That kind of mustardy yellow.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, the Buddha's really. He's a bright. Yes, yeah, that's a good yellow. Like a golden yellow. Warm. And just let it permeate your whole body. Right? In Burma, we used to go to the Sri Dagon, and there was this one. He was a lay person. He wasn't a monk, and he was sitting before one of the Buddha Rupas, and he was just like, he was in this ecstatic state, And Shadow went, tapped me on the shoulder. See, look. I said, oh, okay. There it is. Come on. That's the state, I said, okay. And but those things remain with you, and so when you start shaking and rocking and rolling, you remember, oh, this is okay. You're not going to lose it. The only thing you're going to lose is dukkha, right? But so you trust and let go. So let's begin. First, feeling or focusing on the yellow within the throat, in the jaw. Now let the light permeate your whole body. Now let the light fill the whole room.